50 years. It's not even once every 25 years. It's not even once every 5 years. It's happening yearly. And at that point, it's just a normal part of existence, and we have to, at the very least, create some sort of protection to make sure that we protect people and to avoid unnecessary deaths. And it's not just happening yearly, yes, it's happening multiple times a year as well. It's like, that is the reality. And then on top of that, then at the last stage we talked about the recovery and relief. Okay? There's also that aspect of it. Because on the recovery and relief side, the Trump administration is cutting FEMA, reallocating FEMA resources to immigrant detention centers. They're building immigrant detention centers like the alligator Auschwitz that they built in Florida. They're utilizing the National Guard.
I probably don't need to be using this filter anymore.
Utilizing the National Guard to work in these apprehension, these kidnapping operations.
Old habits die hard.
Utilizing the Marine in this, utilizing the Marine Corps in this way.
I'm ranting today.
Our priorities are completely out of whack. It's completely distorted.
You never know where you're going to get political, Lissa.
And I think it's good to.
You're getting political, Lissa, today.
Talk to people about this and show them what the administration is tasked with doing. In the same ways that the Republicans will actively.
I'm ranting today.
The Democrats will be like, "Oh, all they care about is like trans people. All they care about is trans people." Ironically,
if you see the title, "The World's on Fire," yeah.
Use Republican tactics in the same exact ways against them. Okay. They're nowhere to be found.
I'm reacting to
the moments where they are
Hassan Piker
after the fact, after the devastation is done.
And eating saltines because I feel fucking salty.
Thoughts and prayers, okay? Thoughts and prayers. But in fact, their actions also.
No, I don't even know where to start. Well, like right now, I'm watching Hassan Piker talk about what's happening in Texas, which like nobody's talking about. I mean, like they are, but like they aren't. If you're here from Texas, my heart is like, I hope you're okay.
At the city level, at the county level, at the state level, at the federal level. In the first few hours of this flood, I was on the phone with Governor Abbott.
But like,
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick.
Like I know for a fact that if our emergency personnel hadn't been gutted over the last 5 months,
there may be a very significant loss of life unfolding right now.
The amount of loss of life wouldn't have happened in Texas. Like
whatever assets you need, whatever resources you need, yes, let us know.
80 people, like over 80 people, died from flash flooding in Texas.
DPS, game wardens, Coast Guard, doing search and rescue, reaching down. We've all seen the videos of little girls being pulled up.
Like I can't, I can't fully make sense of that. So I just kind of like,
is going to take longer.
I don't
say to all the grieving families, to all of those
fully watch
the worst news imaginable that your little girl
the news articles, but I have to. And now that I am, I can't just keep it in my head to myself.
The Texas senator was spotted visiting the Parthenon in the Greek capital Athens with his wife Heidi on
and I'm like, well, fuck, I got it.
Brother,
I'm allowed to.
Are you joking?
Rant.
Are you kidding?
On TikTok.
Oh, brother, busted again. Cancun cruise, this time in Greece. Oh my lord, this man is.
Like,
I mean, listen, guys.
Like for real though, like if there's like people are coming in and out, and thank you Baloney for the likes. If people are coming in and out, if you're anywhere near Texas or anything, like I hope you are okay.
And also because your boss will never let you go. You have to
I hope you didn't lose someone.
And he just did his really hard job when he went to vote.
Like I'm thinking about like how scary that is to like
Okay? And after he did this, after he did
Be
this, like,
trying to
really,
get
really
away
difficult thing,
from water, and the water
voting
just
for,
catches you
the
anyway.
continuation of tax credits for the wealthy
And
in
you're
American society, while
on a
simultaneously
bridge or
murdering
some
poor
shit.
people by,
Like what?
Cutting off their access to Medicaid.
That doesn't
and
fucking
cutting off their
happen
access to
here. It doesn't happen. It's not supposed to happen.
programs that they need necessary for survival. He had to obviously take a big vacation, one that will never be afforded to you. Just like he has a
And I kinda feel like
program as a consequence of being a senator.
it's not that nobody
He will never have
cares.
that.
It's because
Obviously,
there's
his
so
job
much other
relies on
shit,
you.
so much other
Basically, it's
catastrophic
telling you
shit
you don't deserve
happening
that, okay?
that
Something to
you're
also
like,
remember, something to also consider. But he had to celebrate. He had to celebrate with his family. He had to celebrate with his family on vacation.
that
okay?
catastrophic shit wouldn't
A
have
lot of you are
happened
being
if
unnecessarily rude and ruthless to Ted Cruz. I mean,
Noah
he had a really tough-
and the National
he had a
Weather
really tough go
Service
at it, okay?
personnel hadn't have been like gutted, and now there's not enough people to warn
There's
people
also, like,
that,
trying to be like,
hey,
we're all
there's about to be a
victims
flash
here. It's like,
flood.
bro, you were in Greece. Okay? Like, oh, we're all victims here, let me tell you. Okay, me, Ted Cruz, I'm a victim.
And like, there's no fucking
Like, You
FEMA.
don't understand. Half of the people who live in that area, Ted Cruz literally voted to cut their Medicaid. You understand me? Like, that's coming down the line.
Like,
Half of the people, he voted to cut their Medicaid, and also has
and you have the
actively
nerve to
petitioned
stand and
alongside
speak in front of
FEMA
them like you
funds
care.
to reallocate FEMA resources to,
I swear.
the immigration.
Like, I don't
detention
know.
scheme that this administration is doing, the immigration enforcement scheme that this administration.
If I were
And after
lived in
doing all that,
Texas,
which is a lot of
if
work,
Ted Cruz
a lot of
tried to
hard work,
speak to
he has
me,
off and go to Greece. Okay.
if you don't
I
get,
want to say thank you to the millions of Texans, to the millions of Americans,
Fuck
to the millions
you.
of people all over the world right now who are praying for Texas and praying for those parents. Going through this grief, it is going to take.
Do you think Zoran
stop talking, give these parents checks.
Absolutely.
Where's FEMA?
It can work everywhere. It needs to be adjusted to whatever the expectations of the state is. But overall, the Zoran thing, the Zoran campaign is a national one. We saw this with Bernie Sanders, okay? Because
And it's
Zoran,
not like
like the optics of Zoran
It can
in
be
New
like-
York work because New York is a immigrant city, okay? So people
Fixed
are
in
more
Congress,
hearing
like-
this kind of left-wing populism from a Muslim dude who's Indian and from Uganda.
the bill
right?
that just passed.
Now, there are obviously racial hurdles that
Makes-
would make it harder for someone like Zoran to craft
Things like
a successful
national
campaign,
disasters
in
even
a place like
more
Texas. Having said that, it's not impossible. Even
Horrific.
someone like Zoran could do this in a place like Texas
Like-
as well, exactly with the same kind of background.
the funding
But
that it
like I
takes
said, it's not
to
Zoran's
recover
background
from
that's
shit
important.
like this is now
Okay,
going
his
to be
background
cut.
Be a hurdle.
The people
Make it
that
harder
will need the
to
health care
communicate
to
effectively to as broad an audience
like-
as possible, especially if they're just like straight up racist, or if you have like a female candidate, they have to overcome misogyny. You know, like these are things that just make it harder, but that doesn't make it impossible. And Zoran's importance here, Zoran's campaign here, is not who he is as an individual; it's what he said.
I really
Okay?
wish
He was
that
able to make
the
people
guy
realize that there is an
running
alternative
for mayor
method
of New York,
from a campaign that actually puts people first, rather than the
Zoran
individual
Mamdani.
corporations, the wealthy. You can absolutely.
I
do
wish
this
that guy
everywhere.
was running for
Okay,
like
there are versions of this that even in places like Texas that have started a fire,
Congress
like the Beto O'Rourke campaign, If you look
or
at it, like,
something,
the initial Beto
'cause-
O'Rourke campaign that was like an underdog
oh
story,
wow.
was cultivated around
Hi,
the same
Oda.
kind of progressive messaging. Had the exact same door knockers. There's a lot of people in this chat that live in Texas that probably found themselves awash with the Beto O'Rourke method and the Beto O'Rourke movement. Now, what he became shortly thereafter was obviously another establishment machine politician, and it failed spectacularly.
Like I'm just thinking about the amount
But even the
of
significant
work
gains that
it's
Beto was able
going to
make
take
in a short period of time in the
to
exact
keep
same style of like door knocking, that in and of itself, yeah, not 2020,
society
2018, I think. Like,
involved.
all of those Like that is
to keep people caring.
That should not be looked at as a failure, okay? Because if Beto O'Rourke was a earnest, real progressive fighter, a socialist,
To keep
okay,
people from
card-carrying
going
socialist,
numb from like all of
he'd
this
get back
shit
to
that's
work,
like happening
and he'd
back
push
to
it,
back to back
and
to
he'd
back
do,
because that's
he would still focus on
that's what's happening is
progressive
like
policies, left populism,
we're becoming
create,
numb as
create
a society, as a
campaign
nation.
around universality, uplifting the poor, these sorts of things are very successful. They're so successful
You can
that
see
Donald
it
Trump is lying
in
about them. Donald
the
Trump is lying
reaction
about being
to
this person, okay?
people
So yes,
from the Diddy
Zorro-style
trial.
campaign can happen all around the country.
In the jurors in the Diddy trial, like
Love is to be friends and family.
There's
and
no
embracing
way
and
that-
hugging and holding them while they weep.
I
And
know
it's
like
gonna take
deliberation
the church.
is a
We
like
definitely
real
did
like
that. One of the things
delicate
we see
process
here
or
in
whatever.
Texas is the church steps up and the church helps.
But I don't
The church
know if they heard the same words that I heard,
This morning I met with a group of chaplains.
and they were jurors sitting in the court.
Incredibly difficult process of talking to
This
mom and
is
dad,
not
for mom and dad
guilty
who
of
just
trafficking?
lost the most precious
Really?
person they ever knew. And those chaplains are just
He
trying to
didn't
let
traffic
them show us
Cassie.
love. So I want to say we will come through this. To those
That
who
wasn't-
of grief right now, that
there was no
might seem
coercion there?
hard to fathom. But
Just because they were a
Yeah, church
couple
should
doesn't mean.
replace the welfare state. Here's another great take from this. Obviously,
Didn't he have to have?
official reports are coming out already. Officials feared the flood risk
People-
Texan youth camps were imminent, but rejected a warning
To
system
go
deeming
get
it too
the
expensive.
drugs
Okay.
and go set up the
Officials
rooms
feared flood
and
risk
make the
youth
phone
camps,
calls.
But rejected a warning
Doesn't that
system.
take an
And I think
enterprise?
the left, such as it is, needs to emphasize over and over is that
And if
local
it's not an
state
enterprise,
constraints
fine.
are entirely artificial.
Are you not
Manufactured on
coercing
steroids. If the federal government can invent $30
your
billion
women
out of thin air to fund a genocide, we
to
can afford to
perform
build flood
sex acts
warning systems.
for you?
These budget shortfalls are not real.
And making
The federal
them come
government
with
can
you
invest money and
places?
transfer it to states for essential projects whenever it wishes. We simply
Isn't that
choose not to.
trafficking?
Subjecting 50 states and thousands of municipalities to a game of neoliberal bum fights empowers.
Tell me that you
This
don't
person doesn't
care
understand
about
the point.
women
He says local state budget constraints
and
are real.
the
They are.
state of
Except
suffering
the federal
of people
government can aid and
without
abet.
telling me you don't care.
Okay? The federal government can always offer additional funds and additional resources in times of necessity.
Like people just don't
It is
care
always a
about
matter
human
of
suffering.
interest. It is
anymore.
not a matter of, it is the biggest hurdle. The biggest hurdle here is never, oh, where will we find the money? Because there's always money for war. The biggest hurdle
The
is
jurors
how do we
didn't
actually reallocate these resources
Rule in her
to
favor
these
because
sorts of incredibly important and sometimes
the
costly
prosecution
prevention
boards
methods.
them.
The conversation around deficits only
They're
becomes
bored.
a serious point of contention when the expenditures we're talking about help the working poor. Okay? They only talk about how will we fund this whenever it's something that helps you out. The government literally only
We are
talks
so
about how we're gonna fund
self-centered
this.
in this
How are we
society.
gonna fund this? This is so costly.
And it becoming
Whenever
more
it's something like
self-centered.
you getting healthcare, it's something like
And
you getting the proper education,
being
it's something like
given
your infrastructure getting
Reasons
the
to be
proper
self-centered.
funds. There's never a question in either party about how are we going to pay for it when it comes down to funding war,
And it's really
funding
scary.
endless militarism, funding all of these imperial adventures overseas. There's never a question about how we're going to pay for it ever. Every single year, every single congressional session, we increase the military budget by hundreds of billions of dollars. Even in this last Trump tax cut bill, the big beautiful bill, the big bomb
And
for
like,
the working poor, there was 150
Even
billion dollars for the military.
I'm guilty
There was 175 billion dollars
of going
for
numb.
Trump's immigration enforcement scheme. There's always money
But-
there's always money for the military. There's always money for the police and the local budgets. Okay, and there's
I'm not
always
allowed
money
to.
for some kind of enforcement mechanism. There's never money. There's never enough money for these sorts of
my
resource allocation.
spiritual path has been chosen for me.
When it's saving people's lives. Okay.
That's why I'm here speaking to a room
Key
of
roles were vacant at weather service offices
none
in Texas.
or
Some
some.
say staff shortages might have complicated forecasters' ability to
Don't
coordinate
go
response
numb.
with local emergency management officials. Do not let these assholes get away with it. Okay? They'll say thoughts and prayers. They'll say now is not the time. That's the thing that I told you. Initially,
don't politicize it.
Like, how could this have happened? How could this have happened?
How could this flooding have happened? But don't politicize it.
Now is not the time.
Nigga.
Now is not the time. No, it is the time. When is the appropriate time? They do this with mass shootings too, which aren't even natural disasters to begin with. Now is not the time. Don't politicize this. Now is not the time. Don't politicize
But
this.
it's because of y'all that it fucking happened. Let's talk about it.
For these preventable deaths, you are responsible. If you are a Republican politician, you are especially responsible for these deaths. This is what you wanted. This is what you actively designed society around.
We'll come through this.
And this
And I just want to say
motherfucker.
thank you. I want to say thank you to these gentlemen here who are working there, not sleeping there, working every day. Thank you to the families. Thank you to the Salvation Army. Thank you to everyone who is just reaching out and saying, how can I help? We will come through this. And we'll come
Why
through this together.
are they helping and you're not?
Talk about there's no kids here, and particularly no kids in camp. Was it ever communicated to you that there was need, that it was a priority to have a warning system so people had a chance to escape something like that?
No, it wasn't a priority to have a warning because he voted for them to be all fired.
In the wake of every tragedy, there are things that are predictable. One of the things that's predictable is that you see some people engaging in, I think, partisan games and trying to blame.
Oh my God.
There's always a chance of disaster. God
Are you
willed it.
serious?
God willed it. God is great. God is good.
Asking
We don't know
how
the
it
ways in which
happened
God works,
is
but
playing
don't
partisan
lose that.
games?
I told you, right on script. Right on script.
Hi, Tamara.
Now is not the time. And this is a natural disaster. It is what it is. It happens.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
Dude, the entire
Now is not the
purpose of
time to
mankind
ask how it
that has been
happened.
able to go to the moon, that has been able to build ginormous dams, that has been able to build massive skyscrapers to overcome nature, okay? And yes, part of that hubris is what's causing these kinds of
I wanna use a
extreme weather
different deck.
events to take place because of anthropogenic climate change. But there is still so much more that we can do, okay? There's still so much more that we could do in terms of proper prevention. Not building campsites and not building campsites around, for example, a riverbed. Or if we do,
Did he really just say?
ensuring that we have the proper resources allocated to.
He just asked them.
Bro, we can conquer a little rain, I think.
Did you get a warning
This wasn't a little rain.
from the
That's the whole
national
point. That's why I gave, like,
weather
the
system
Pompeii
so that you could
example, where
warn
it's like,
those
we
camps
just keep
to
rebuilding
evacuate?
in the ash cheeks of a
We're
volcano
not gonna
over
play
and over
partisan
again.
games
And
today.
then the volcano explodes,
What?
and the lava takes over the city, and then we rebuild the city
What?
once again, and we say, it won't happen again. It won't happen again. And we don't even monitor the tectonic activities. We don't even we underfund we underfund the warning systems ahead of time so that there's no evacuation. We just refuse to learn any lessons from any of this, and it's so devastating. Sorry, 10 missing now. How many dead? There are more than 80 people that have died so far.
In political opponents for a natural disaster. And you see that with the hurricane, with the tornado, with the wildfire, with this flooding, where people immediately say, well, the hurricane is Donald Trump's fault. Look, that...
Nobody said that.
No one thinks the hurricane.
No one said that.
Jackass. Everyone says that.
We just wanted to know, did you have a warning?
Worked against, with the unlimited resources we have, the Republican Party in the United States of America is actively creating a more harmful environment, a more dangerous environment. I don't think that people behave in the ways that they're claiming. That is the Republicans that will say, oh, the hurricane is Joe Biden's fault. Okay, nobody says natural
It's called the Knight of
disasters are a
Swords.
direct consequence of whoever the president is. Unless you're a Republican and the
And-
president is a Democrat. Okay? They say
Terry, yes.
these
You should go
things
to the
are
doctor for your
happening
headache.
with a greater frequency and greater magnitude. We have to
And need
have
not
the
pull a
proper
card or anything for that.
resources allocated to prevention, to infrastructure hardening and to proper warning systems. And then we have
If
to
you're
have the proper resources to
asking
give it back to
an outside
the recovery and rebuilding
person
that
that pulls tarot cards if you should go to the doctor for your headache, that means that headache feels some kind of bad, and you should not be talking to me. You should be talking to urgent care.
Now, after we come through search and rescue, after we come through the process of rebuilding, there will naturally be a period of retrospection where you look back and say, okay, what exactly transpired? What was the timeline? And what could have been done differently to prevent this loss of life? And that's a natural process. I think it should not happen in a bitter and partisan sense. It should happen in a reasonable sense.
If something happened to you,
what lessons can we learn? And I
medically,
example,
as a child,
you know, Houston's my hometown. You live on the Gulf Coast.
you just had another person that pulls cards to
And I do think
tell you
Texas
no,
as a whole has learned
that you shouldn't go
over
to
time how to
the
deal more
doctor.
effectively with hurricanes. And so you look here, we know the National Weather Service put out.
This is
an
why
emergency
I normally
warning just
don't.
After 1 a.m. and a second emergency warning just after 4 a.m.
Notice that I didn't
Now,
ask
obviously,
Spirit.
most
I
people
just
at 1 a.m. and
straight
4
up
a.m.
was like, yeah,
And so I
girl,
think we
go.
will have a reasonable
Because
conversation about are there any
this isn't a
ways to have
question for
earlier
Spirit.
detection? And some of that, the limits of a flash flood, they're very
Spirit
difficult
created
because
doctors.
they can arise so quickly. But everyone would agree in hindsight, if we could go
I'm
back
not
and do it
qualified
again, we would evacuate particularly those in the most vulnerable
help you
areas, the
medically.
young children, the cabins closest to the
No
water.
one on TikTok
We would
is.
remove them and get them to higher ground.
So
we
if
could go
you
back and do it again.
have a
Obviously,
question
everyone would-
that you
the people
think
in RVs
you should ask a
by the
doctor, you
river's
should ask a
edge.
doctor.
We know in disasters like this, RVs and mobile
What
homes are particularly susceptible.
some random TikTok tarot reader has to say means nothing at all.
And so my hope is, in time, we will learn some lessons to implement
And
to next time, and there will be another flood. there will
if
be another
anyone's
disaster.
question is, should I go to the doctor for? The answer should always be yes.
Okay? When he says, we will learn from these lessons, his previous response, and his current response, as a matter of fact, shows that he's not interested.
Because
in
if you're
learning these lessons. He
worried
literally said,
enough
there's nothing
about
we
it
can do about it. You know, these
to
things
ask
happen.
for help,
And then turning around and being like, oh,
then the
well,
person
we'll
you're
figure it
asking
out
for
after
help-
the fact. We'll figure out what went wrong here after the fact. It's like, no, you're just pushing it
And
down.
I
when
will
it's no
also say
longer
this.
important in the public's eye, when it's no
If you
longer
know
newsworthy.
somebody
Like, this is a
who is
defensive
well
posture
educated
against, this is a
on
defensive
medical
posture
issues,
that is the opposite of
if you know
problem
a
solving,
holistic
okay? An issue
person,
happens.
if you have a friend that's
an
in
issue
medical
happens,
school,
people seek out
or
answers
somebody,
when it is the most prescient.
for weeks
And
now,
these guys desperately move the attention away.
Just
and
straight for weeks?
delay, with the hopes that they don't ever have to answer these questions. Okay? He's not lying. They'll learn what other publicly funded services.
and I'm sure you've been trying
detect warning
to
systems
make it
have.
stop.
Republicans have become so I mean, they've always been like this. Chatter.
Who would
Yeah,
tell you
use
not to
salient,
go to the
salient's a
doctor?
better word, yes. Salient. When the issue is most salient.
A headache.
When people are
Okay.
when people are actually paying attention, when people are demanding
I'm
action
also-
in a time of crisis, they don't want to
I
give
also-
answers in a time of crisis on purpose because
Like,
if they were to
know
properly
medical
analyze
things,
the
like
situation as
I
we've done so far,
help
even with like the limited amount
with
of information
herbs
we
and
have
shit
thus
like that,
far, we very quickly
drugs
arrive
and
at the
whatever.
real villain
Hi,
of the
Mandy.
story, which happens to be
Um,
the Republican Party.
I'm gonna tell you something
Okay?
about the body,
The
okay?
people that are actively underfunding these
Your head
systems of prevention
controls
alerts,
the rest of your
and
body.
analysis.
Next time there's a flood, I
If
hope we
your
have in
head
place processes to
has been
remove
hurting
especially the most vulnerable from harm's
for
way. I think That's
weeks,
going to be a process. Full examination
there's
of
something
what
wrong
happened and how can we
in the
implement
structural
processes better in the future to prevent this same loss.
components of your brain or skull or something. I dare say you call urgent care
It's like,
or go
oh,
to
man,
the
how
ER.
could this have happened? How could this thing that I worked hard on,
There are
how
some
could
things
this thing
that
I
don't
worked
let you
hard
out of the
on,
hospital
how could it have
for.
happened? I didn't
Persistent
realize when
headache,
I cut the funding and advocated to cut the
dizziness,
funding by cutting the fat, by
chest
trimming the
pain,
fat in the federal government, that these
and
already
seizure-like
underfunded resources
activity.
comprised of woke
Also,
gay
anything
scientists
like
we're actually doing woke gay
that could be
science
liver
in the form of
related or
figuring out when how devastating
internal
flash
bleed.
floods might look like.
Anything else they might send you home for. Your head.
Guy who literally is responsible for
If
it.
you were to call somebody, they would say, come in. Because you probably have other symptoms too. A headache that hasn't gone away for
He said
weeks.
the same thing in 2018.
Senator-
Senator Cruz, we will rebuild together because that's who Texans are. Surveys, flood damage in Burnett and Llano County urges Texans to heed warnings from local officials. When asked about the rebuilding process,
Sorry,
Senator
I
Cruz noted
just-
the bipartisan cooperation of the Texas delegation of the Wake Hurricane.
I
Hurricane
have,
for recent flooding events. I'm amazed
and
at the
it's-
bipartisan
I've seen-
cooperation we saw in the wake of Harvey. Harvey now goes down in history as the second most costly natural disaster in U.S. history.
My
We
my
have
tarot
bipartisan
head came
cooperation.
on and my health head came on.
First concern
What?
is First concern is getting people out of harm's way, Senator Cruz said. If there's more flooding that comes,
Also-
and some of the weather reports
also-
suggest they may
also,
be coming, then please take seriously but evacuate.
beware of anybody
Don't think that you can make
who
it
is
through.
willing
They have
to
this
answer
script.
health
They have
questions.
just the same script that they hit over
You're
and
dizzy
over
and lightheaded.
every single time.
You just beat.
Every single damn time. It's like the same script that they hit. Same footnotes. Same bullet points.
Go to the ER.
You know, thoughts and prayers. God is good. God is great. How could this have happened?
Go to the hospital.
We will figure out how this could have happened, and we'll make sure that it doesn't happen again. As they literally work to make it happen again and again and again and again, and make things worse in the process.
I just felt like my body get like heavy.
So,
There's a reason why I am like stuck onto you, reading for you.
Two alerts that went out, one just after 1 a.m., one after 4 a.m.
I'm not.
I can tell you,
I'm just.
the partisan finger
This is
pointing.
straight spirit saying like,
I
yo,
think there
like
have been some eager to point at the National Weather Service and say cuts there led to
And
lack of warning.
never
I think
ever
that's contradicted by the facts.
come to.
And if you look at the facts in particular,
Look,
I mean-
look. Direct question. Let's see.
a.m., one after 4 a.m. You know,
If you're
I
gonna
can tell
ask
you-
somebody about whether
I
to
talked
see a
about the
doctor,
partisan finger pointing. I think
Don't
there have been
ask
some eager
a card reader.
to point at the National Weather Service.
Ask a
and say
friend
cuts
or
there led
somebody
to
that
a
just
lack of warning.
No, those
cares
cuts were
or
good.
gives a
Those
fuck.
cuts were good. We saved so much money.
Because somebody
We
that's
saved
trying to
so
do a
much
reading
money. Excuse me, sir.
is
Talking
going
about
to.
these cuts, you're kind of making it seem like I
They're gonna
have
stop and listen
take
to hear what
accountability for things that I've
what
advocated for,
Spirit is
and I don't like
saying,
it.
and
How dare you, sir?
use the
This is
cards
not
and
time for partisan finger pointing,
sometimes
sir. These cuts were good.
these tools
These cuts were
get
great.
in the way of
We
like
need more of them.
straight up
Also,
common
how could
sense.
This have happened? I don't like the facts that you are presenting to me.
Just by the
Yeah. Texas Observer.
Look, I feel like any
those
good
cuts are
reader
a Texas-sized disaster.
would
Okay.
would-
This came
wouldn't
out
even
on
take
July
that
3rd,
question.
2025. Reckless agency layoffs and the
Wouldn't
dismantling of
even-
federal
even-
relief
even pull
programs could lead
cards.
to Lone Star
They would
State
put the
in
cards
peril.
down and just start
Before the flash
asking
floods.
you, "Are you dizzy?
Right, I think.
Have you
Like,
drank
right
water?"
before, a day before the flash floods happened.
It should just become a
they were like,
conversation.
"This is a
Fuck these cards."
ginormous issue." President Trump's commitment to energy dominance would seem to be
What's
good
going
news
on?
for the Texas economy, but in the administration's reversal of environmental policies, including via the chaos of the Department of Government Efficiency
That's
and
why, like-
federal agencies, it is easy to overlook changes that are of particular importance to the
That's
state.
why. Also, like,
On the one hand, our
fuck talking
increasingly
to,
smaller window of short-term
hang
profit
up
seeking
and call
seems to be
the doctor.
in the direction. It seems to be focusing
Like,
in the direction of accelerating fossil fuel
and you dizzy?
production.
They don't let
Okay.
you leave if you're
And
dizzy
Texans
either.
are like, hell yeah, baby, let's suck the earth
They
dry.
admitted me because I was
Ironically
still
enough,
dizzy.
That leads to more erratic.
They were trying to see if I had a
conditions,
stroke.
more extreme heat, more extreme drought, and then also more extreme.
Don't
flash
play with
flooding
head pain and
incidents like the one
dizziness.
that we just saw. And then, on top of that, because a lot of these resources, as I detailed out,
I feel like I'm
that show
also
you
fired
in
up
the Project
at the person that told you
2025
no.
reporting on this, okay? The reason why they're cutting these initiatives is twofold. The NOA NOAA.
That's why, like, a lot of times I'll come on here and, like,
those woke
not even
scientists
have my cards
are
visible. Like, not
actively
even, like,
tasked
say
with
that I'm going to
identifying
pull cards.
climate
Because I
change.
might
Their
not.
job is to literally look at this and say things are going
might
to get
not,
worse.
like-
But that's too alarmist for these people.
I'm not
because
gonna
They have to keep lying to the public and make it
structure
seem as though climate change is not real. That it's it's
my
a hoax, that
life
it's made up,
according to
and it's woke, right? It's woke and gay.
what serves
So they want to cut it for that
me.
reason because it undermines their overarching agenda of focusing on
Because
the fossil fuel production.
what I'm doing
Part of
here.
that is because China has
Is a
complete
service.
dominance over
Like I'm
the
doing-
renewable energy sector.
What?
So we have to do everything in our power to
Well, it's put
continue
in my
working
heart
on
to do.
drill baby drill mentality.
And
That's good for Texas in the short term. at least,
sometimes
like, the way
people
that they see it.
don't
But
need
then also, their second reason is because they
a
want
reading.
to
Sometimes
privatize
people
the
just
NWS
need
so that someone
be
who is
talked
close with the
to.
administration, another wealthy dipshit, can basically take over the NWS.
But if I'm so focused on
which
getting
provides
clients
a
and
service
impressing
that is
an
an absolute
audience,
necessity for all aspects of commerce.
I'm not helping
so that they
nobody.
can pay all this stuff. And privatization of this sort, as we have seen
Or I
time and
might
time
be
again, only
leading
leads
somebody to
less
something
efficiency.
stupid.
Okay? Efficiency that a capital owner understands is very different than the efficiency of a service. The service diminishes.
Thank you for the
service
likes.
gets worse,
Thank you for
but
2,000 likes in
they make
like
more
30
money.
minutes. That's
The
amazing.
efficiency means someone can make super profits in the process. What a capital owner believes is efficiency is not necessarily good for you, the average person, okay? A lot of these things that the government is tasked with doing basically have to work.
I guess that's why I was told to
They
like
have
not.
to work, and they're working, they're working in a way where you don't even realize they're working at all times, okay? You only realize the government is failing when it actually isn't working. You only realize that the government is there when it actually fails.
This
in
is
a moment like this. So this is
truth
a really important time for
in plain
leftists
sight.
and Democrats alike to
Hidden
explain
truths
that
in plain
these
sight.
are resources that we cannot take funds away from. These are government instruments that we have to rely on, that we have to continue funding, and the Republicans' austerity measures against the war that they're waging against these government systems is actually deadly and will continue to have devastating consequences such as this one that we just watched.
And if you look at the one that these warnings went out hours before the
It's 4 swords.
flood became a true emergency level, but number two,
I'm stuck by the way that the card is drawn.
Where they were headquartered, they had additional manpower. In fact, they had 3
Not
additional
only
people working that night.
do we have to
anticipating
stop
that it was going to be a very dangerous weather situation. I also
talking
think it's
down to
worth noting
ourselves.
that the National Weather Service Union, which has been very critical of the DOGE cuts, has publicly
We
said
have
that they don't
to
believe
stop sitting
that the
with
reduction in staffing had any impact whatsoever on their ability
those
to
thoughts.
warn of this event. And so, look,
We
I
actually,
think
like,
it is
sit
reasonable over time to
and
engage in a retrospective and say at every
the
level
way that
what could have been done
you're
better, because
supposed to
all of
meditate
us-
on
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good actually that we
good
we actually
affirmations
had heroes that were
is the
basic.
same way
Like, there
you'll
were people that
dissociate
took
and think bad things about yourself.
The retirement plan, the accelerated retirement plan. And the government did that specifically so that there were less people in these positions.
So don't ruminate
Okay? They didn't
on
like directly lay them off. In some instances
things
they
that
did,
went
but
wrong.
in many instances they just basically said, hey man, we're giving you an opportunity before
Don't
we lay
sit
you off.
stuck
We're
in
just giving you severance pay
minor
off
inconveniences.
with no interest in rehiring.
Or
Here's the New York Times reporting on it. Crucial positions of the local office of the National
small
Weather Service were
decisions that
unfilled
you
as
had to
severe
make
rainfall inundated parts of
that
Central Texas on Friday
maybe
morning,
made someone
prompting
mad.
some experts to question
Like,
whether staffing shortages made it harder for the forecasting agencies to coordinate
it's
with local
over, it's
emergency
over.
managers as floodwaters rose. Texas officials appear to blame the Weather Service for issuing forecasts on Wednesday that underestimated how much rain was coming.
We're
The
meditating
former Weather Service officials said the forecasts were as good as
on
could be expected, given the enormous levels of rainfall and the storm's unusually abrupt escalation. The staffing shortages suggest a separate problem.
stabbing
Those
ourselves in the
farmers
back.
said. The loss of experienced people who would typically have helped communicate with local authorities in the hours after flash flood warnings were issued overnight. The shortages are among the factors likely to be scrutinized as the
Strength.
death toll climbs from the floods. Separate questions have emerged about the preparedness of local communities, including Kirk County's apparent lack of local flood warning system.
You are
The county
stronger
roughly
than you
50 miles
know.
Northwest of San Antonio is
And I
where
know
many
that's
of the
a
deaths
cliche
occurred. In an
statement,
interview,
but it's
Rob
actually
Kelly, the Kirk
true.
County judge, and its most senior elected official said the county did not have a warning system.
At
because
your
such
most
systems are expensive and
vulnerable,
local residents
you are
resistant
strong.
to new spending. Taxpayers won't pay for it, Mr. Kelly said. Asked if people might reconsider it in light of the
You won't
catastrophe, he said, I don't know.
feel
This
like
is part of the reason why
you've
I sometimes
overcome
feel like
anything
it's better to just
until
do
you've
it
been
and not tell
vulnerable.
people that you're
Vulnerability is
okay?
strength.
It's just like why? Why do you need public feedback? on
Telling
all
the
of this
truth
stuff?
is strength.
What is the purpose of the government? It's not like they ask every working poor individual
Being
whether or
quiet
not they
is
want to get
strength.
their SNAP benefits reduced. They just do it anyway, right? I don't understand it. Yeah, here I have an initiative in mind. Are you ready for it? We're
And
saying
because of the
that
choice
the
of
National Weather Service alert
cards
system
that I
is
felt like
actually
these kids
against
today.
wokeness. It's actually homophobic.
there is
and
strength
anti-woke, which is why it must be
found
funded.
in darkness.
Boom. There you go. Funding secured. Okay, just say that.
Even at your
all
lowest,
the
darkest,
people that want to cut these resources are woke and gay. They want to cut the
angriest,
resources
worst.
in a gay way. Funding the police is gay.
there is strength.
We must redistribute
Like even in these
resources away
dark,
from the
icky,
overfunded police
mucky, dirty times, there
funding,
is strength.
which are woke and gay, and funded back to like the homophobic parts of American governance. Big government is anti-gay. Little government is gay as hell. I figured it out. The weather service, yeah, or you could say it stops the Democrat weather machines. Yeah. That's another one. We have to fund these institutions and these warning systems because they warn against
You're
the
capable
Democrat gay machine.
of managing
okay?
more
We need to have a big,
than one
macho,
thing.
muscular, manly government. The
You are
weather service nearby San
multifaceted.
Antonio
You are
also discovers
dynamic.
other areas hit by the floods also have significant vacancies,
More than you
including
think
the
you are.
coordination meteorologist and science officer, Mr. Fahey said.
And you won't
The National
know
Weather Service
that you can
San
manage
Angelo officer
all
is
of these
responsible for some of the
things
areas hit hardest by dry flooding, with
until
missing a senior hydrologist,
you just start doing it.
forecaster, and meteorologist in charge. Okay, San Antonio office also has significant vacancies. Staff
Do it
members in
scared.
those positions are meant to work with local emergency managers to plan for floods, including when
Do it
and how to
when
warn local residents and help them evacuate.
nobody's
The Office of Warning
watching.
Coordination meteorologist left on April 30th after taking the early retirement package the Trump administration used to reduce
Do
the
it
number of
at
federal employees
unexpected
for no
moments.
person with knowledge of his departure.
Do it when
Some
you
of the
feel
openings may
uncomfortable.
predate the current Trump administration, but at both offices, the vacancy rate is roughly double what it was when Mr. Trump returned to the White House in
It took me a
January,
long
according to
time
Fahey.
to turn on
John
the live
Sokich,
camera,
who until January was the
and
director
there
of
is only
congressional
one
affairs
person
for the
in this
National Weather
room.
Service, said those unfilled positions made it harder to coordinate with local officials because each Weather Service office works as a team.
But I
Reduced
feel like I
staffing
need
puts
to be
that in
here.
jeopardy. A spokeswoman for the National Weather Service, Erica Groh, did not answer questions to the
Even
New York
though I'm
Times
thinking
about vacancies,
about my
including
kid,
how long those
I
positions have been
can't.
open, and whether those vacancies have contributed to the damage caused by the
Even
flood. There's
though
also
I
another
am worried
problem
about
here,
this
where the
big,
NWS
stupid
staffers that are still
fucking
employed might
bill.
be fearful of speaking out against the administration.
Even though I'm having
out of an abundance of
reactions
caution,
to medicine,
out of the fear that the administration might actually enact revenge upon them by firing
even
them,
though I'm trying
which
to
is
figure out how to write a
insane to
book,
even think, but
even though
it
I'm
is
fucking
quite
bored,
literally a reality. It is within
still be here.
the realm of possible options here. Part
because
of
you
what
are
part
capable
of what the
of
Republicans
more than
do
one thing.
expertly is consistently claim that
You
these
are
services
dynamic,
are not
you are
working,
multifaceted.
so we have to just continue defunding them. That is a part of their advocacy. A
And
part of
good
their
at
advocacy
it.
quite literally is to say these systems are failing. They failed our people. They failed our citizens, which is why we must defund
You can be
them.
passionate
They're
about more
taking
than
your
one
tax
thing.
dollars.
Would want to prevent this horrific loss of life, but I think just immediately trying to use it for either side to attack their political opponents, I think that.
And when I say
I think
things,
that's cynical and not the right approach, particularly in a time
I call
when
myself a
political
spiritual
crisis
mirror
is
because the things that I'm saying are is usually trying to say to me, but I'm hard-headed.
They both perform essential roles, and
And
it is critical in every
I resonated with all of that.
that we make sure that critical roles are maintained. That's a longer and broader discussion, but as I said, everything from the public
And the
evidence
magician, okay.
indicates that was not a
Okay.
contributing factor to what occurred here.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilby.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News
Chariot.
YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews
Magician.
and most compelling analysis.
Jason Allen has been following this.
Never
story
see the
since very
magician.
beginning. He joined
I go,
me.
oh shit.
Jason, what have you been seeing out there?
Maurice, what has really struck
Some
me
weird shit's
immediately
about-
in the last few days is how in some places there is nothing left
Whenever I see the
to
chariot,
what was
I go,
there
oh, okay.
before this flood came through. And this is a part of the country
I
that
need to get
you
ready.
know, Allie. There's a combination of extreme rain events,
Because
very thin soil. The officials here over the last
change
few
is
days have
happening,
rescued
whether you
850 people,
are ready
some
or
of them
not.
from the tops of trees and others from the rooftops.
And you're going to be the catalyst
Hundreds of
to
first responders
whether you
spread
know
out
it or
across
not.
the Guadalupe River. They climbed over debris piles, searched mangled cars, and combed
And
the flood.
There's been a federal
it's
hiring
time to
freeze
get
for
into your
anybody that
knowing.
worked there, so even if they wanted to hire, they can't.
Waters scoured. Torrential rain caused one river to surge nearly 26
Seven of
feet
Swords.
in just 45 minutes early Friday morning.
Red Cam Mystic.
Hiding truths about
Children's summer
yourself
camps
from
docked
yourself.
The shoreline of the Guadalupe. At Camp
Which is
Ministry,
probably
all-girls summer camp, the river started running
the
through
magician.
cabins where children were sleeping. Nearly a dozen
Hiding how
girls are still missing.
We're looking.
Talented you are.
Potentially be alive.
Hiding how much knowledge you have.
The flooding ripped through homes and campgrounds where families were staying for
Well-
the holiday weekend.
We're still hoping for the best. And that's all we do. That pray.
Can't hide no
Ryan
more.
Blackbird came to the house his family owned, looking for signs of
Times
his
are
sister and brother
changing
locked back
and you
in
got to
Australia.
change with it.
They had friends staying with them, only one
So-
escaped.
Those gifts you got behind your back,
Fighting occurring around the house.
you're going to start using them.
Amid the heartbreak,
And you're probably going to feel like a selfish, crazy bitch.
Somebody say, help, help.
Sisters Natalie and Emily Wakeman said they spent 20 minutes trying to pinpoint those screams. Then they said an 8-year-old girl who had floated 6 miles from Camp Mystic appeared from a pile of debris. Did you ask her what had happened, how she was able to make it?
Yeah, we asked her what happened, and she said that her cabin was flooding, and someone opened a window, and she just flew out of it.
The sudden rush of water reached this RV park, packed with campers.
Everybody on
Ace
the level where the water is in right now, they were barely getting out with their pajamas on and their dog.
The rain again said in the rush to wake people up, they could only watch helplessly as one family was swept away.
Just hearing those kids crying and screaming, it was very, very different.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott said no one anticipated
rush of
the
empathy.
severity of the storm.
The moment of time when they knew the magnitude
From
of the water,
places that
it's a
we
difficult
didn't
decision
expect.
about whether or not to.
It's pretty crazy to think, but it's pretty crazy when you think about it, but like Republicans do actively work against the best interests.
Tapping
of the
into your
public
heart chakra, I
in every
hear.
aspect of government. Someone in the chat was talking about like harm reduction initiatives for safe injection sites. Like they literally are anti-human, anti-welfare, anti-humanity. in
New
general.
beginnings.
They're pro-capital, pro-profit, and anti-human for every single issue. I'm joining the side
Depression
of cancer on the
lifting.
war on cancer. I'm joining on the war against COVID. I'm joining the side of the natural disasters
Depression
and the war against
lifting
climate change. I'm siding with climate change. Every
after
single
dealing
time.
with something
It
difficult.
is insane. But because
Which is-
this kind of
which is-
death is
which is
often,
odd.
as we talked about before with Luigi Mangione, social murder, most people are oblivious.
And I see you
it's not
saying you
immediate. It's
feel so
like,
lost.
You don't see it. You don't see this like action reaction.
These cards are
You see this like
in general.
something that is totally out of people's hands. It's crazy.
the commercial disclosure and paid
Despite the
marketing.
floods here in the past, there are no outdoor warning systems here, no
What?
sirens. Instead, people
What?
rely on predictions and forecasts from the National Weather Service. Now, local officials debated
It's not.
having a system back in 2017. They held off because of the cost of that system.
It doesn't.
Trump expected to visit the area on Friday.
Okay, Jason Allen, thank you so much. Extraordinary stories there.
No.
Texas preparing for
Like they're watching, National Geographic, a classic.
authorities say 850 people have been rescued so far. Well, Donald Trump has denied that federal government cuts, including to the agency overseeing the National Weather Service, may have impacted the response. The US president also said he may visit the state later in the week. It comes as authorities warn residents in Texas to prepare for further bad weather.
We will remain 100% dedicated, searching for every single one of the children.
My
who were
live
abducted,
contains
as well as anybody
themes
else, and the entire
that some
riverbed.
may find
To make
uncomfortable
sure that they're going to be
and
recovered.
has been
That
restricted.
there are dangers over the next 24 to 48 hours that could pose public safety threats to people in these regions. There is heavy rainfall that's already occurred, and there's more heavy rainfall that's expected that will lead to potential.
Well, we're now starting to hear from survivors, including this woman who spoke about the harrowing experience of having to flee with just moments to spare.
That's really annoying.
My husband hadn't been awake. I think it could have been a different story. We were
Really,
worried about
really
leaks
annoying.
in the RV with the heavy rain, and he heard screaming outside, and came and woke me up immediately. And we had to be
So,
out there in about 10 to 15 minutes.
I'm gonna wrap up.
The hardest part was there was a little boy who started floating down the stream, and he was screaming, asking for help, but
You can find me
there just wasn't
at the link in my
anything
bio. You can
to do
DM
at
me.
that point.
You can
We're also learning more about the people who died in this tragedy, including
wait to see me
8 and
again.
9-year-old girls at Camp Mystic, just from the Guadalupe
but
River. The pictures we're showing
I'm gonna
you
get
here
off of
show
here.
the inside of cabins at the camp. After the floodwaters rushed through, you can see everything is covered in mud. It is not clear whether the girls in